Hello and welcome into another CreekCast. I am Brooks Carter, joined by head football coach Drew Carter, as we are coming off our first win of the season against the Chattooga Indians in Game 2 in our home opener. Coach, it was a very fun night, an interesting night from a Mother Nature standpoint. I said on the broadcast, I'll take a 2-hour lightning delay every week if we come out and play like that after the fact. But fun night of Creek football.
Yeah, luckily, part of my talk with the guys right before we found out we were able to go out is, we've kind of been through this. At the model jamboree, we dealt with weather right before it. We dealt with weather right before the Gordon Central scrimmage as well. So we were used to abbreviated warm-ups and being able to keep ourselves focused in weather delays. So that was a nice advantage that we were able to have, and obviously our guys responded to it. And then you combine that with when people started clearing out of the bleachers, the band boosters that were running the concession stand brought our guys in some hamburgers and some hot dogs that were not being sold. And that was kind of what I said to our guys. I said, I don't know what are in those hamburgers and hot dogs, but maybe that's what we need to have for pregame every week.
I didn't actually know that. That's a great story. That's funny, man. Nothing like a little hamburger hot dog to get you going for a second half of football. But you know, so talking about just some of the highlights of the game. That was our first win at home since 2023 against Lafayette. So that was a big deal to get a win at home. Defense played lights out pretty much the whole night. I thought we were going to get our I think it would have been a fifth shutout in school history. I thought we were going to get it, but weren't able to. But let's start in the first half. Offense kind of struggled to get on time, I will say, in the first half. There were some missed opportunities, but
Yeah.
it kind of looked like a defensive struggle in the first half. But I felt like, the way our offense was struggling versus how their offense was struggling looked totally different to me. Our offense was struggling from a timing standpoint. Like, it looked like we were just missing on a few things where it felt like our defense was dominating them.
That's the exact way I assess it too. Because we would move the ball and then it would be, a drop pass or somebody just not able to make a good play to keep a drive going or get us a chunk play like we needed. I feel like at that point, before we actually made some plays at the second half, our guys had not seen themselves make the plays offensively. So the confidence level and the timing was just not there. But the good part about it that I was telling our coaching staff is as dominant as our defense was, we were able to complement that on the offensive side of the ball of put some plays together. We punted the ball well. We were able to execute our quick kick well and pin them back and kind of do the flip of what happened to us in week one with staying ahead on the field position battle. And to that point, our defense was able to play more energized and dominate, just like you said.
Yeah, first half highlighted by the safety. They really some of it was just some self destruction from Chattooga. They had some issues punting the football. They mixed a couple of different punters in. They dropped a snap at one point, but we got them buried back in their own territory. That was after a quick kick, in fact, as you opted to punt. I think from inside the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
But knowing how well the defense was playing, it probably made that decision a little easier for you. But we get them buried back inside the shadow of their own end zone and get a snap rolled back on the ground, and punter can't do anything. And boy, those blue jerseys just swarmed on him. And first safety that we've had as a team since, in fact, it was in the exact same end zone against Murray County to open up the season in 2022. But that's not your usual. That was probably we had a little people poking fun at the halftime score graphic that I put out on Twitter, 2-0. I had some people commenting saying, "Is this a baseball score?" or stuff like that. So that was an unusual halftime score. I'll say that.
Yeah, we'll take it though, the way that our defense and our special teams are able to play though. We'll take that every week if we have to.
One thing I really noticed too about the defense, as we'll talk obviously a lot about them as we are mentioning the first half here, was um, anytime Chattooga tried to throw the football, their quarterback did not look comfortable whatsoever. And they ran a lot of tight formations. I mean, I don't think they went more than had more than a two receiver set most of the night. But I mean, everything that they threw, I think their biggest pass pickup was maybe like 13 or 14 yards all night. And they tried to throw some little screen passes at times. And once again, our guys were all over it. Kobe King dropped what would have been a pick six in the first half. I think I said on the broadcast because he would have been running towards the south end of the stadium. I said there was nobody between him and Atlanta, and I mean, that would have been a game breaking play there.
Yeah, they obviously played great all night. You mentioned Kobe played really well again. Probably the guys most proud of that probably took the biggest step were our two inside linebackers. Really thought that they grew up. Branson Lowry and Rivers Show. Probably the best games I've seen them play in varsity action in their young careers. So really proud of that, and we're hoping that that confidence can spill over and start to snowball in a good way for them. But our defense as a whole, you mentioned their inability to throw, and obviously we saw what they were trying to do. But the film we got though, they were pretty dangerous in their screen game because wing T teams they're they run the ball with a lot of misdirection and motions, and then all of a sudden they got a guy running down the seam wide open because you get your eyes caught in the backfield and your safeties are trying to fill the alley. So that's tough, and then they do a good job of complementing that with their screen game, and we've seen them on some film catch some defenses off guard because of that. And we did a really good job being prepared for that, and our guys played them really well.
Yeah, I'd actually texted you about River and Branson. I thought that was probably the best I'd said. That's who stood out to me the most,
Yeah,
probably throughout the night, aside from some offensive standouts. But I thought, especially, I think Branson had probably 6 or 7 tackles on the first 3 drives. I
yeah,
mean, he was involved in almost every play in the first quarter defensively. Then, River had a couple of tackles for loss, had a fumble recovery. Was one of my top calls from the game. I mean, just absolutely annihilated the quarterback on a third down pass where, I mean, quarterback could do nothing, but he barely got the ball out of his hands.
yeah.
It was almost a sack. So, yeah, really impressed with the defense from that standpoint. So you go in, you got a 2-0 lead. You have almost a 2 hour lightning delay. Um, what is I don't think there was ever any conversation about this game getting postponed because you could see on the radar it was going to clear out. It may just be a
Yeah.
late night. It may just be a late night. So what is that conversation like with your team knowing knowing, okay, we're definitely going to get this thing in tonight, but we just don't know exactly when yet.
Yeah, it was trying to communicate with them as much as possible based on the communication I'm getting from athletic director Chris Woods and our trainer Antoine, because they're monitoring that stuff along with the officials. So me getting communication from them and letting the team know we got to stay focused, but at the same time we can't be in here. We got to find that balance of being lethargic but not bouncing off the wall so that we're wasting a bunch of energy. So letting our kids just kind of sit around, get out of their cleats, take their shoulder pads off, and then being able to get back in that mode was a big deal too. But they handled it well. Like I said, I think the fact that we have seen that during the preseason scrimmages was a big help for us of knowing how to take that approach and to get our motors going quickly when we're able to go back out finally.
Yeah, if there's been anything that's been consistent for August high school football in Georgia, you're probably going to get some sort of weather delay.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been having deja vu multiple times over again the last couple of seasons. But so you come out second half, and I mean, you want to just rip the band-aid off and get right back in the game. I mean, just an absolute spark plug of a play. I didn't even have time. I didn't even get to call the play because our broadcast wound up not even being able to get. It got delayed from the lightning delay itself. Our photographer on the side, Brad Sloan, didn't even have his camera up in time. Like, just bang, they come out, opening kickoff. Elijah Faraji takes it back second kickoff return for a touchdown in school history.
Yeah, we put a lot of work in because we felt like we didn't do a great job in the kickoff return game with our blocking assignments and where we get to in week one. So we put a lot of work in this week, and Coach Brewer put a lot of pressure on those guys to get some things corrected. So to see that come to fruition and make an explosive game changing play like that, everybody gets blocked up and Elijah makes two guys misses. That was huge. And then, here we go from there.
Yeah, it really did open up the floodgates. You talked about your guys seeing themselves make successful plays. It kind of everything just fed off of that. Like after that, it was like the offense was like, okay, well, we can do this now too. I think they had one drive that went for no score to start the second half, but then we got the ball with about 6.5 minutes in the third quarter, and bang, first play come out, little play action, throw it to Tyler Douglas on a slant across the middle. He breaks a tackle, and there's nobody between him and the end zone. Takes it 65 yards to the house. That is he played exceptionally well, especially in the passing game or in the from the receiver standpoint, showing his versatility. That's the healthiest he's looked to as he's been dealing with that shoulder injury, really all fall camp.
Yeah, hey, unbelievable way for him to get his team going. He needed to see himself do that too, like you mentioned the injury. So he hadn't been as available as he would like, obviously, as the coaching staff and his team would like, because we know he's got that kind of ability. So it's been great to be able to do that. A big advantage of him this year is we're not having to lean on him so much defensively. So we're able to, script a few more things and be more specific and intentional with ways we're getting him the football on the offensive side. And I think we're going to see some benefit with that as the season progresses.
Waylon had a big night running the football again, had a rushing touchdown, obviously threw two touchdowns, as I mentioned. But, he looked really on time in the second half. He connected with a lot of different guys. Several guys got involved in the pass game. We had catches from not just Tyler, Kobe King, Silas Pledger, Landon Bryant had a couple of catches as well. I tell you, play to go back to the first half that I was listening back to the radio broadcast. He had a play where he got rid of the football. I don't know if you remember which one I'm talking about. He looked like he was about to get sacked, and I have no idea how he got. I don't know how he had the arm strength to even get the ball to Silas Pledger.
Yeah.
I thought that ball was about to just get kind of popped up in the air, like it'd be at risk for an interception, and all of a sudden it's just in the chest of Silas Pledger. I thought that was an incredible play by him.
Yeah, I really feel like he's played well, since preseason started. He's making the right decisions. The ball is going where it needs to go. And that's the biggest thing with him as far as quarterback maturity standpoint goes. And he's seeing things on time. And now we talk about that second half. Now he saw some guys make some plays for him. So I think there's really good football ahead for him. And then that's just going to benefit everybody in our offense. He's moving in the pocket pretty well. You don't see him just escaping for no reason. He's usually up and not running from pressure. So he's got a good feel for that. And he makes good decisions when he needs to run the football too. So I'm really proud of how he's coming along. I feel like he's helping to elevate his teammates.
Yeah, had that 13-yard touchdown run on the first play of the fourth quarter to really kind of put the game out of reach. And then icing on the cake was a little touchdown pass. Kind of looked very similar to the first touchdown pass to Tyler Douglas. And Tyler just weaves through traffic, drags some tacklers into the end zone. That was an incredible play. And even furthermore, I think it was the last play that the first team offense played of the game. Chattooga had a defender come in and try to strip that ball out of Tyler's hands, and Tyler just muscled him and spun out of it, picked up a first down. That was impressive to me because, you've seen Tyler kind of be this slot guy. Well, he gets put in the backfield some. You don't necessarily think of him as being this kind of bruiser at running back, but that was one of them. I was very impressed with his strength on that play.
Yeah, and some of our off-season posts, you probably see that he's probably top 5 or 6 guys on our team when you look at overall strength with the top 3 total lifts that we measure. And you combine that with the good weight that he's put on this off season. He's tough to do business with. I feel like he's at his best when he's run after the catch, whether that be out of the backfield, out of the slot, whatever might be, because you never see the first guy get him on the ground. He's got that kind of wiggle, swivel deal with his hips and his shoulders, so nobody's ever get a clean hit on him, and then he just keeps on moving.
I'm going to give a shout out to the offensive line. They did a great job, especially in that second half, allowing Waylon time to throw the football, opening up running lanes. Maddox Jackson got in and had a couple of good looking carries too. Just a lot of guys were able to successfully run the football, and they gave Waylon ample time to throw the football too. So shout out to the offensive line. I thought they played their best that they've looked through the first 4 contests that we've seen, if you include the 2 preseason scrimmages as well. So 30-7, the final score as Coahulla Creek pulled away. I think that's probably the most points we've scored in a half of football since 2023. You look back last year, we struggled to put points together. Exploding for a big half like that was a big deal, especially early in the season to be able to do that. I think hopefully builds confidence out as we prepare for our region opener. We're going to take a little moment to thank our corporate sponsors here, as we'll thank them now. S&M Auto Repair and Towing, Hernandez Roofing, Mohawk Industries, the Todd Nelson Foundation, Engineered Floors, Keller Williams, the Blankenship team, Lowry Tree Service, Precision Seamless Guttering, Selling North Georgia, Smoky Mountain Wood Products, Textile Rubber, Phoenix Roofing Systems, and Dairy Queen. So, Coach, as I just mentioned, welcoming North Cobb Christian to the Creek for the first time in school history. It'll be our second meeting ever with them. Region opener, you're moving into that new season of where the games count towards. I say the games count. The games count more towards the playoffs. It's not exactly, it is, because if you're a top 4 team, you still make the playoffs. But with the power ranking system and all that kind of stuff, I'll say this: these games mean something. They mean a little bit more than the first 2 did. And you're playing against the quality opponent whose roster looks pretty different from last year, but they've got a lot of talent again.
Yeah, and to know what you're talking about with the region game, that's how we ended our conversation Friday night when we were getting ready to leave the locker room. Was we couldn't ask for a better way to go into region play with the way we finished that game Friday night. So great way to go with that, and hopefully it bleeds over and gets our guys going the right way. But yeah, you're right. Get an opportunity to play a quality opponent, just like you said. It is a very different team when you look at some of the new names on the roster and in their stat columns, but they're not lacking any talent. Those guys are well coached. They're a disciplined team. They do a lot of good things on both sides of the football. So we'll have to come out and put what we did in the second half over 4 quarters of play if we want to give ourselves an opportunity to play in this game.
Yeah, they most notably the quarterback that was a sophomore last year has moved on to go play at the public school in the same area. He's at just North Cobb High School now. The Notre Dame commit, Teddy Jarrett, but they had a transfer in from Alatoona who is a sophomore himself and is a pretty good looking. He's very raw. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's a pretty good looking quarterback prospect. The running back is back though, and he had a huge night against Darlington last week. Cooper Bazarki or something like that. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce his last name, but I know Lawrence, my guy from Northwest Georgia football, had messaged me last night saying, is the Creek going to be able to stop him? Because he had like over 200 yards rushing against Darlington. So they'll present some challenges, but our defense, I believe, has been up to the challenge so far for the most part. Outside of a couple of big plays against Northwest, they've really, and the one play against Lafayette, down to down, our defense has played exceptional this year, and I expect them to continue that, and I hope our offense can continue the momentum from the second half. Did want to take the time to thank our feeder school students from elementary schools who came out to the game, albeit probably abbreviated for some of them. I don't know how many mommies and daddies stayed out past halftime after the lightning delay, but always fun to have all of Colt Country, especially the younger ones, out to the creek.
Yeah, it was early on in the game, right at opening kickoff and pregame. There was a great crowd there for a home opener. And energized. So that was a great experience. And like you said, we love making that, a streamlined deal where we've got everybody unified and making it a huge community event. So excited that they were able to be there. Wish that we would have been able to put on that type of performance during the first half when everybody was there, but unfortunately, we weren't able to. But yeah, the crowd that did hang around in the second half was thin, but they were energetic.
Certainly so. We had a lot of people wind up tuning in to the Coahulla Creek Sports Network in the second half of the game, so we definitely appreciate that. For Coach Carter, I'm Brooks Carter. This has been another edition of CreekCast. We'll catch you back here next week on our YouTube channel as we will hopefully be recapping another Coahulla Creek win as we take on the North Cobb Christian Eagles. Thank you again to all our corporate sponsors, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.